What's up, guys, and welcome to the Underdog Playoff Best Ball show. Going to be taking a look at Playoff Best Ball, the Gauntlet, the Mitten, probably draft one of each of those, and go into strategy on how to attack these best ball slates. And I'm going to get into it right after this.
Our viewers and subscribers are crushing it thanks to SportNuggets.com's premium content. On our live show Game Script, we've built multiple showdown winning lineups recently, delivering thousands in winnings straight to our viewers. Shout out to Basie Babe, Mosh8124, TC2480, and Wizard Gangster for cashing big using our recommended plays. Our premium members have taken it to the next level, absolutely dominating leaderboards with our exclusive core plays and insights. Our own PumaCom smashed Week 17's weekend slates, banking over $79,000 in contest winnings. Shout out to premium Discord member Sick Hemi for winning over $2,000 using our core plays. This success comes from our unique narrative-driven game script projections and curated news aggregation, tools designed to streamline your research, uncover hidden gems, and give you the edge in fantasy and betting contests. Join the winners today. Sign up for premium access at SportNuggets.com and start building your own massive paydays.
What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at PumaCom here with Heatseeker Sports, and you're watching the Playoff Best Ball show. Going to be digging into Underdog's Playoff Best Ball. This is a tournament that I've done well in over the past few years. Last year, I ended up winning the Mitten, and I won the single entry contest over on DraftKings. So very fun game to play. It's been one of my favorite games to play since it got introduced a few years ago. And I've always been pretty good at predicting which teams go to the Super Bowl. I had the Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs last year. A few years back, I had the Bengals going up against the 49ers, but I had the Rams get into that championship round. But the 49ers obviously didn't win that one. It was the Bengals versus the Rams, but was set up very nicely because nobody had the Bengals that year, and I had loads of Bengals, and it ended up working out well for me that year as well. But it's a very fun game to play, especially if you can latch on to a team that nobody else is thinking of or wants to put their money on, which is perfect because this year we have like just an absolute hodgepodge of teams. All the good teams are basically out, or the teams that we normally see run the table on these playoffs are out. The Chiefs are gone. We're missing, potentially the Ravens. So we're missing some teams that were Super Bowl almost favorites, or at least have been Super Bowl favorites in the last few years. On the NFC side, we still have the Rams, the Eagles, obviously, and some good teams over on that side. But there's a lot of really good defenses that made it through on the AFC side. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to try to navigate the situation with the offenses that we want to attack over there in the AFC. So I think as far as the NFC, it's more of an offensive oriented situation here in the NFC playoff hunt. We do have Seattle, which is looking like they're going to be the number one overall seed. They're also the best defense left, along with Philadelphia. Philadelphia has a really good defense. Given the scenario with these teams in the NFC, I think that with Denver, or with Seattle and Philadelphia also having good offenses, I think it's highly likely that maybe one of those teams makes it to the championship round or potentially the Super Bowl. And I didn't think that, Philadelphia had their shit together towards the end of the season, but they've looked good in the last couple games that they've played. And the defense is always going to be firing on all cylinders for Philly. And I do think that given the defense situation over there in Philadelphia, I do think that they have a good potential to make it to the Super Bowl this year. On the other side with the AFC, I mean, that is anybody's guess as far as I'm concerned. We have a lot of first time playoff quarterbacks in here. We're dealing with the Patriots and Drake May. I guess that's the only first-time quarterback, but we're dealing with Justin Herbert, who always chokes in the playoffs. We're dealing with Josh Allen, who, his whole team is a bunch of Jags. Like, who's he gonna beat these defenses with these receivers are just terrible. We're looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars. They felt like an imposter for most of the season. They've looked a little bit better towards the end, but the only guy who scores fantasy points on the Jags is Trevor Lawrence and maybe Travis Etienne. Then we're looking at Pittsburgh. We're looking at potentially Pittsburgh. And if Pittsburgh makes it in, you're looking at another team with hardly any weapons to target there. Houston's a little bit better. Houston would be in a better spot. They got some offensive firepower, and they also have a good defense. With Chicago on the NFC, they have the offensive firepower, but their defense is really bad. With the Packers, we're talking about a defense that was good, but then they lost Micah Parsons. So they're basically an offense that is, they're a decent offense. Like in high pressure games, Jordan Love does well, but they are another team with there's no superstar on that offense, and could be a problem in this playoffs, where we're talking about a lot of really good teams. They don't have a defense, though. Their defense was terrible, and their defense, I can't remember who they just lost to, but they just lost to the Ravens. They got destroyed by the Ravens in a backup. That defense did. They did have Malik as a backup too, but Malik Willis looked great. We're talking about the San Francisco 49ers. Another team, no defense, but they got a really good offense. The Eagles, who have a really good defense, and they have a offense that can be good at times, but that can also choke. Then we got the Rams, who we just saw choke. Speaking of choking, and they killed us on Showdown the other day with Matthew Stafford just looking like completely losing his grip on that MVP in that game. But we got the Rams. Their potential of putting up points with that offense. Devontae Adams should be back for the playoffs. And then we got potentially Tampa Bay or Carolina. And I'm gonna go with Tampa Bay most likely, just based off of them being a home team. So I'm gonna share over my screen real quick, and we'll go over to take a look at a playoff simulator. I recommend when you're doing these playoff best balls, first thing you want to do is kind of simulate who you think is going to face off in the playoffs. We got 1 week left. I wasn't doing this prior to this week because it was so much up in the air with these playoffs. It was like lighting your money on fire. It wasn't even worth drafting up until now. But now we got a lot of more clarity. And even if you projected correctly the teams that were going to make it to the playoffs, like anyone can win these playoffs. This is the most difficult to project playoffs that I've seen since I started doing this in these playoff best ball shows, probably in like 2001, 2002, whenever it was introduced. So this is the most difficult one that I've seen. So we'll go over week 18 and try to figure out who's going to make it to the playoffs, and then we'll kind of work our way from there. Like I said, I'm going to project the Tampa Bay Bucks to make it to the playoffs. I'm going to project I'm going to go with the Seahawks to beat the 49ers in this game. Seahawks defense is just too good, even though they're playing at San Francisco. I'm going to project the Packers to beat the Vikings. I'm going to project this one doesn't matter. I'm going to go with the Texans winning at home. I'm going to go with let's see, this one doesn't matter. I'm going to go with let's go with the Saints, because I think that Shuck is going to win again. Let's go with the Jags against Tennessee. We're going to go with the Bills against the Jets, although this could easily be a spoiler game. Let's go with the Bears. Same thing. This could easily be a spoiler game too. I'm going to go with Denver at home against the Chargers. If the Chargers win, then that's going to propel the Patriots to the number 1 spot, but the Chargers really don't have anything to play for, so they might looking like they're going to bench potentially their players. I'm going to go with Denver to win that game and the number 1 seed. I'm going to go with the Rams. I believe the Rams will probably play their starters after that miserable game they just played. They don't want to go with that type of momentum into the playoffs probably. This one doesn't matter. This one, I think the Patriots can take the Dolphins. Although, we see crazier stuff happen, but I think the Patriots beat the Dolphins regardless. I'm going to go with the Eagles in this game. This game doesn't matter if they win or lose. I'm going to go with the Steelers. I'll go with the Steelers at home in this case, although, the Ravens could obviously win that game pretty easily. So that would set us up. And this is why it's important, because you want to try to figure out who's going to get the first round bye and be very familiar with the situations. If Denver loses this game and the Patriots win, first of all, if they both lose, the Jags get in. If the Patriots win and the Broncos lose, then the Patriots will get in. If the Broncos win and the Patriots lose, then that'll knock the Patriots down to like the number 3 seed if the Jaguars win. So there's a lot of different scenarios playing into this last week. So it's important that you kind of get an idea, a feel for who you think is going to win these games and how this bracket is going to shape up, because you want to kind of project how these matchups are going to shape up throughout the playoffs, not just in round 1. So I don't know if I said it at the top, the simulator I'm using is Pro Football Network, and we can go into here and predict the playoff games from there. If we're looking at the Chargers versus the Patriots, I picked the Chargers in the beginning of the season when they had an offensive line to make it to the Super Bowl. But I just don't think that they're as equipped to make it to the Super Bowl with this offensive line. But one thing I will say is the Patriots' run D is super banged up. I don't know what their health is going to be going into the playoffs, but if their run D is still banged up, the Chargers would love to run against the Patriots. And they got Omarion Hampton, who looked good. And if they're able to keep that run game going against the Patriots, then I think they have a chance, because the Patriots would, they would probably struggle more against this Chargers defense. Although they are weak against wide receivers. The problem with the Patriots is the wide receivers that we're looking at. We got a Stephon Diggs situation. I don't know if he's going to be suspended before the end of the season, and if he's going to potentially be suspended in the playoffs, depending on what these allegations shake out as. There's like a woman that made a accusation against Stephon Diggs that he strangled her. So we're waiting to see how that plays out. Then we got the situation with the Bills and the Jaguars. This would be a pretty good matchup. The Bills have, like I said, a bunch of Jags that they're going to be putting up against the Jaguars. And it's going to be very difficult for the Bills to put up a fight against this pass defense, because the Jags pass defense has been really good. The weakness on the Bills is their running game, the running defense. So the Jags could potentially just try to run the entire game on the Bills, and and then they could also attack them through the air and get a decent enough lead so that the Bills can't catch up. So, I wanted to think that the Bills are going to make it to the Super Bowl, but, this would be the perfect year for them to do it. The only problem is that the team has not invested in any weapons for Josh Allen. All he's got is James Cook and, Dalton Kincaid. That's their best receivers, Dalton Kincaid. And I think Dalton Kincaid is hurt. I don't even know what his injury status is. Let me check real quick and see what Dalton Kincaid's I know Dawson Knox got a ton of work in the last game. So I don't know if Kincaid was even playing this past week. Looking at Kincaid, he's questionable this week. So, maybe Dalton Kincaid will be back. But, I mean, regardless, that's their best receiver. So it shows you what kind of state that the Bills' offense is in. And then we got the Steelers versus Houston. That would be the next matchup. And in this one, I think that, Houston just has the better offense over the Steelers, and they would be able to handle this situation with a good defense and a better offense. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and put the Patriots in there. We could change that up if we wanted to, but I'm going to put the Patriots in there. I'm going to put the Jaguars in there, and I'm going to put the Texans in there, right? So we got the Texans versus the Broncos, and then we got the Jags versus the Patriots. This next game, we got Green Bay versus Chicago. Green Bay's defense is just decimated. Chicago's been playing well. They got a good offense, and they got a good coach. Both offensive-minded coaches are, good coaches here. I do think that the Bears would win this one, just given the state of the Green Bay defense. And the Bears defense has actually been pretty good against wideouts. They would be vulnerable versus the slot. And that's where, maybe Jaden Reed, they would have to rely on a guy like Jaden Reed or something like that to get it done for them. And, I just don't know if they're going to be able to pull that off against Chicago. Meanwhile, Chicago's and that's even like with the last 8 weeks. And so that includes basically when the, Micah Parsons was still playing. And actually, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. That would actually be Chicago's defense is actually really good against the run and really good against the wide receiver one. Green Bay's defense is weak against the run. They're weak against wide receiver one. They're weak against the slot receivers. So they're basically weak across the board. So, Chicago would have a much easier time against this Green Bay defense than Green Bay would have against Chicago, where, like I said, like they could only target the slot basically. So I would put Chicago in that one and take that with a grain of salt when it comes to Green Bay, because we saw it last year when Green Bay went into Dallas and just absolutely dominated them. And, that's with Jordan Love. Like if you get when you get elite Jordan Love, he can just take a team apart. So there is potential if you wanted to, pick the Packers here instead, to go with the Packers. But I'm going with Chicago. I just think that they've been playing much better recently. And I think that Green Bay is vulnerable with that defense. Although Green Bay offense looked really good in this recent game against the Ravens, we'd have to see how the defense can stack up. So we got the San Francisco 49ers versus the Eagles. And Eagles D is kind of the tiebreaker here because they both have good offenses. I think the San Francisco 49ers have a much better offense. They're much better coached. It's just going to be on the Eagles defense because the Eagles can put up an offense, and the San Francisco 49ers, they're basically playing with practice squad guys on their defense. So I would put the Eagles over the San Francisco 49ers, although if we wanted to get a little bit sneaky with our drafting, maybe we pick the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know how popular they would be, but they're a good team overall, explosive offense, so they probably will be popular. We'll see where they're getting drafted. We'll see where their ADP is, and that'll give us a better idea. But I do like the Eagles to win this game. I could easily be sold on the 49ers if the draft shapes out that way. Then we're looking at the Bucks versus the Rams. The Rams looked terrible the other day, and that killed us because I had a narrative with Matthew Stafford, going off as a MVP candidate, trying to win that win that award, and them going all off on the passing game, trying to get him there. But just the entire team looked absolutely horrible. And so I'm still going to take them over Tampa, because the only team that's been playing worse than the Rams played the other day has been the Bucs, and the Bucs coaching has got to go. Like, they're just absolutely terrible. They've been making horrible decisions with their play calling and their game strategies and stuff like that. Like, I am just not a fan of that coaching staff. I would take the Rams over the Bucs in that case. So we got basically the 2 and 3 seeds in each conference going through, along with the 5 seed in this Texans versus Broncos matchup. 2 really good defenses facing off against each other. I think the offenses are probably pretty even. I would probably go with the Broncos in this one. Sean Payton has been great at getting teams to the conference championships. He's only gotten one team to the Super Bowl, basically, but he's just been a solid coach. He keeps his team focused. I would probably go with the Broncos in this one. And then we're looking at the Jags versus the Patriots next. And honestly, I like the Patriots better than the Jags. I feel like the Jags are kind of an imposter team still. Like I said, it's been Trevor Lawrence taking all the fantasy points in that. Like, he's not carrying anyone with him. The matchup again would be, can they attack the Patriots run defense? And then they got, like Travis Etienne would be the beneficiary there. But I would go with the Patriots in this one, I think. And by the way, keep that in mind. If you think that the Jags would move on, if this played out the way that I'm thinking it would, Travis Etienne would have not only the Buffalo run D, which has been terrible, but they could potentially have a Patriots run D that could be banged up still. We don't know if they're going to be what their state is going to be when they face off in this second round of the playoffs. But let's go ahead and put the Patriots in there. If we're looking at the Rams versus Seahawks, we had that narrative with Sam Darnold struggling against the Rams. Maybe that happens again. Maybe we can go with the Rams here and get our first upset here, like a real upset. I had the Rams thinking that they were going to go to the Super Bowl earlier in the season. They looked terrible the other night, so it's very tough to pull that trigger. But I think that the Rams could still potentially beat the Seahawks. And if we're looking at the Eagles versus the Bears, the way that the Bears are playing, they're just playing with so much energy. And you look at the situation here with the Eagles, and the Eagles are just like they're just got so much drama. They got like coaching drama. They got player drama. They got an inexperienced offensive coordinator versus Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson could potentially beat this Eagles D or figure out a way to beat it. I would trust the offensive coordinator here in Chicago, that being the head coach, more than I would this Eagles offensive coordinator. So I would probably lean Chicago in this matchup. It's going to put the Rams versus the Bears, and it's going to put the Patriots versus the Broncos. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Broncos. I'm going to say Sean Payton gets it done, gets them to the Super Bowl. And with the Rams versus the Bears, I would say in this one, the Rams go to the Super Bowl. Now, these aren't going to be, my official picks just yet. I have to look at it a little bit more, look at the matchups and simulate it out throughout the entire playoffs with my own projections before I'd get on board with this one. But I wanted to get some of these drafts done, and just kind of thinking through it right there. I think it makes a lot of sense to have the Broncos versus the Rams, or potentially the Patriots versus the Rams. I think one of those teams versus the Rams makes the most sense to me. Although there are a lot of teams that could be spoilers. It's very difficult, like I said, to kind of project, especially the AFC. I do think that the NFC is a little bit better. I think with the NFC, with having two teams with good defenses, while all the other ones have bad defenses, and they all got solid offenses all around across the board, I would probably project the two defensive teams to get further in these playoffs. But the conference championships, when I was looking at that, I just feel like when you feel that matchup out, it feels like the Bears are the team with all the momentum, and the Eagles are just like hanging on by a thread. So that's kind of why I go with the Bears in that situation. And with the Rams and Seahawks, we just know Sam Darnold's history against the Rams. I know he beat them the other day, but he looked terrible for most of that game. Came back with a comeback at the end, and I think that's when Davante Adams was out. I'm not positive on that. I think Davante Adams got hurt in that game. Let me check that. I want to check that because that's important to try to figure out here. Let me just take a look at Davante Adams game logs. I think it's Adams. All right, so I'm looking at Davante Adams. The last game that he played was week 15 versus Detroit. So he wasn't even in that second game versus Seattle. But, honestly, the Rams only beat Seattle by 2 points in that first game. So, it is possible that the Seahawks beat them, but I do think that with Davante Adams coming back, that they're able to kind of make it happen, kind of push them over the edge there if they're given a pretty close matchup there. So I'm going with those two teams, and I don't care who wins the Super Bowl. Probably, I don't know. Let's go with the Rams again, because they'll have a full complement on their offense, and I do think that if we got Davante Adams and Puka Nacua in the Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford, I think that's the way to go over the Broncos. So that in mind, we're going to go over to Underdog. And the contests that we're going to look at are going to be the Gauntlet and the Mitten 2. The Mitten already filled, so that must have just happened because it looks like this one just got started. We got the Summit as well. That's a 3-entry max. We got a few different contests here for Playoff Best Ball. I'm going to start off in the Mitten because I want to get an idea of how this ADP is shaking out. Better to experiment with the cheaper priced contest than to jump into the bigger price contest. We'll take a look at the rules here. So first prize in this one is going to be $50K. Second prize, $25K, and so on. We got 112,000 entrants in this one, $500K prize pool. I'm kicking myself for missing that Mitten 1 because I'm sure that one had a bigger prize pool. But let's take a look. Basically, if you make it past the wild card round, all your players that have not been eliminated from the playoffs move on to the next round. And an important strategy with Playoff Best Ball is to try to map out your Super Bowl like I just did, so you can pick the teams that you think are going to go the furthest. And you're going to want to make sure that you're trying to field a complete team in the Super Bowl. So that's where stacking is very important. You want to try to stack as many players from the same team as possible that you believe will make it to the Super Bowl. So you want to try to get, like if we had the Eagles, I would want to get Hurts. I would want to get Barkley. I would want to get Adams and Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. I'd want to get, Dallas Goedert. There's no tight end need. Tight end or wide receiver is one category in this one. DraftKings is a little bit different. You have to draft a tight end in DraftKings. But with here you got a flex and you got 5 bench spots. So you're basically wanting to field an entire team. So with your bench spots, like if you're drafting the Eagles, you might want to put Jahan Dotson as your last pick in the draft just to get yourself a sneakier player going to the Super Bowl if the Eagles make it. Not a lot of people are going to have Jahan Dotson fielded on their team. And you saw it last year with Jahan Dotson actually got off to a big start in the Super Bowl last year. I think he might have caught a touchdown or he caught like a long pass or something like that. But these scrubby guys can be useful in a game like the Super Bowl and can give you a huge edge because a lot of people are just going to have the stars on these teams. It's going to be very difficult to make an entire team get through to the Super Bowl and pass all these rounds. And then you're going to want to basically try to pick one NFC team to focus on, and then try to get as many players from opponent on the NFC that you think can get in. So a lot of times what I'll do is I might pick an AFC team, stack as many positions as I can in that AFC team, and then pick a couple NFC teams that I think can get to the Super Bowl and try to stack as many people from each of those teams as I can, and just focus on getting players from 3 different teams, one AFC and 2 NFCs, or one NFC and 2 AFCs, or something like that. When you get to the later rounds in this round 1 playoff best ball, where you're having to worry about the the team on a bye, then when you get to the later rounds and you feel like your team is pretty thin because maybe you drafted some of these bye week teams early on in your draft and you're a little bit thin with your upside, then that case in the later rounds, that's where I'll target some of these players that we know can score a lot of points but aren't getting drafted very high in these drafts. Like maybe the Packers. If the Packers, for instance, are getting drafted late in these drafts, then I would target Christian Watson in the last round or some guy like that to give myself some upside to make up for the players that I have that might be on a bye week that I've been drafting early in these drafts. So it's very important with strategy. You want to make sure you're fielding a quarterback, a wide receiver, tight end, 2 of those, running back, and a flex in the Super Bowl. That's your goal. You want to get all those positions filled in the Super Bowl. And you got to use a lot of strategy to get there. And we'll go over some of that when I'm drafting in this first draft here. All right, so gonna enter this contest. All right, so it filled quick. So I'm gonna draft it actually on my phone because I don't like drafting on my desktop or my laptop, I should say. Draft starts in a minute. So Underdog, use the promo code SEEK, SEEK, to open an account. And when you open an account using that promo code, they're going to give you $100 in bonus cash when you make your first $5 play. So you enter the mitten once, they're going to give you $100 in bonus cash. You can enter it another 20 times. Or you can enter the gauntlet, the higher prize pool. You can enter that one 4 times, with that $100. So take advantage of that promo code. That's the first thing that you want to do. Use the promo code SEEK when you open an Underdog account. You're going to want to get into this. It's a very fun game to play. And we'll get into the strategy. There's only 4 people in a draft for this best ball contest. Actually, I take that back. There's 6 people in a draft. So it's about half the size half the size of a normal best ball draft. All right, so I'm up. I got to figure out who I want. I'm gonna go with. Let's see. Is Jalen Hurts taken? I'm gonna go with Saquon Barkley, just based on what I projected there. The Eagles can get pretty far. I think the Eagles will get further than the Bills. Otherwise, I would have gone with Josh Allen there and try to do a Josh Allen, James Cook stack. But instead, I'm going to go Eagles, and I'm going to try to get Jalen Hurts. I don't really care about any of these. Actually, I'm going to get A.J. Brown. I don't really care about any of these other players here, the James Cook, Devontae Adams, or Kyron Williams, because I'm not really targeting those teams right now, because I kind of committed to the Eagles. Now, Kyron Williams, I talked up the Rams. That would be a good guy to pick if I picked a Ram with my first pick. I don't think I had any. Oh, Devontae Adams was available, so I could have gone there. Okay, so did somebody take A.J. Brown? Yep, somebody took A.J. Brown. So I'm going to go with – I'm just going to get my Jalen Hurts now. So I got Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley for my Eagles. So my next play, I'm going to go with Devontae Smith, because, like I said, I'm trying to get as many people from this team as possible. Somebody sniped A.J. Brown from me, so I wasn't able to get that. And I got to try to think of which Patriots team that I want to stack, or which AFC team that I want to stack with my my Eagles. And I talked up the Broncos already in the beginning of the show, so we'll make that Broncos one of my AFC teams that we target. So hopefully Devontae Smith will fall to me, and then I can maybe target Cortland Sutton after that. So it's got one more pick until it gets to me. I got Devontae Smith queued up. You know, R.J. Harvey would be a good one for me too if I'm projecting the Broncos. So you see I got Barkley, Hurts, and Smith. So I'm going with an Eagles Super Bowl run here. And I'm thinking right now, who do I want for my AFC team? And, you know, I probably like Diggs. Stephon Diggs is on the board here. So it's my turn right now. Let's see. I'm gonna go with Dallas Goedert, because I don't like any of these AFC guys right now. All right, so I went with Dallas Goedert. And I switched over to this view to show you guys who we got in the player pool, so you guys can see what I'm looking at here. Again, keep in mind, this is like my first draft in a couple weeks. I tried one draft a couple weeks ago, and then I just realized it was kind of pointless, because it was so difficult to project who was going to make it to the playoffs, much less the Super Bowl, that I didn't want to light my money on fire. So I kind of skipped over that. All right, so it's coming up on me. I am looking at, let's see, if I want to get myself an AFC stacking partner, I'm going to go with the Jaguars, just because I kind of have them set up here. And ultimately, I would have liked to grab Travis Etienne. but he is off the table. So let's see. All right, so the first AFC team, I'm going to go with the Chargers. I'm going to go with the Chargers and the Broncos. And I'm going with two teams on the AFC because obviously if I go with the Broncos and I'm projecting them to get a first-round bye, then I'm going to need to make sure that I have – and you know what? Honestly, I could have picked Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas. I wasn't really thinking that way. And those would have been two very good values this late because Trevor Lawrence is the only guy that scores points on that team. You could basically run him naked in this contest and draft a whole bunch of the NFC guys. But I went with, like I said, Marion Hampton. So I'm going to go with Ladd McConkey here and just shore up my my Chargers here. And let's see. I want to draft another one of these AFC teams too to kind of figure out the second AFC team that I think would have a good chance of making it that far. Patriots, I talked up the Broncos. Broncos got that first round bye. I think I got enough players at this point to field a team. So if the Eagles versus the Chargers in the Super Bowl, I have all my squares covered there. I got an entire team if those two teams make it to the Super Bowl. And I do think that there's not going to be a whole lot of people maybe drafting that combination of teams. So I'm getting here to where it's starting to thin out a little bit with these options. I'm going to go with Quentin Johnson, get myself another Charger. And then my next pick, I might go with Troy Franklin on the Broncos. I got Justin Herbert a little bit further down if I want him. Right now, you can get a value on the Ravens because people aren't sure if the Ravens are even going to get into the playoffs. So let's see who comes to me. All right, so yeah, definitely looking a little bit thin here. I'm gonna pivot here. See if I want the Ravens. I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson. I'm going to say the Ravens make it into these playoffs. So this is where, I'm taking a little bit of a risk. This could completely burn my team, but also if we get a Ravens-Eagles Super Bowl, then I'd be set up pretty good because Zay Flowers is still on the table. And that's ultimately what I was looking at. I was looking at some of these weapons for the Ravens that are still out there. And I do have I have an Eagle running back, a quarterback, and two wide receivers. My flex could be one of those at that point, just hoping one of those guys on the – hang on a sec. Ravens. All right, so somebody took my pick there. All right, so I got to go. I'm going to go Mark Andrews here. Not the best pick in the world there, but gets me a little bit different because I don't think there's going to be a lot of people drafting Mark Andrews. He's so far down the list. And right now I'm looking at Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. I'm looking at Saquon Barkley and Marion Hampton. And then I got Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, and Mark Andrews. So ultimately, I hope the Chargers get in there versus the Eagles, but it doesn't kill me if the Ravens get in there because I got a full team either way with those guys. And I'm noticing that the Texans have a lot of value later in this draft, and I see Chicago has some value too. Let's see, it's my turn. Eagles. I'm going to go Jahan Dotson here. So like I said, like if I get to the Super Bowl with the Eagles, and the Eagles are the only ones that make it, then I got Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, I got Smith, Goddard, and Dotson. So I have a full team if I make it to the Super Bowl and it ends up being the Eagles that is the team that get there. I have a full team if the Chargers make it to the Super Bowl against the Eagles, and that would be the best case scenario for me. And then if it's the Ravens versus the Eagles too, then I got myself an extra quarterback on top of it, and I got Mark Andrews along with Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Jahan Dotson, and Saquon Barkley. So you see what my strategy was there. You're looking at the rules of the game. The rules of the game is to get fill a position for a quarterback, running back. I think it was 3 wide receivers, flex positions. We'll go and look at those exact roster spots again. Let's see. Let's go back and do another draft here. You got to scroll pretty far over to do it. So now that we've seen that and we've gotten a feel for it, let's just jump in this gauntlet and do a $25 one. So looking at it again, let's just confirm what we need. Yeah, 2 wide receiver tight ends and then a flex. So you could take like a extra running back as your flex. You could just keep hammering the wide receiver tight ends. A lot of people will do 1 quarterback, 1 running back, assuming that the quarterback and running back that they pick make it all the way to the Super Bowl, and then they'll draft, just load up on wide receivers pretty much. Not a lot of people will take that tight end unless it's super high upside tight end. But yeah, that kind of gives you an idea of what we're trying to do here. Let's enter another one. This one's going to be in the gauntlet, and we'll see how we can do here. All right, this one filled. They fill quick as we're getting closer to the draft here, or closer to the playoffs here. I am pick number 4 in this one. I have terrible luck typically with where I end up in these drafts. Again, go over to sportnuggets.com. I'm going to be writing a lot of content for this and doing a lot of premium content for Playoff Best Ball. And we've had a lot of success recently on regular DFS, just nailing it on DraftKings the last few slates. This weekend, I personally won the the Spy. I won the Spy on Sunday. No, I won the Spy on Saturday. I almost won it on Sunday as well. I came in 5th in the Millie Maker on Sunday. I came close to winning the 150 on DraftKings. Like I said, the Spy was very close as well. If I'd have entered my lineup that I entered in the 150 in the Spy instead, I would have won the Spy. And then I won on Sunday night. I ended up winning the showdown. So I won the I think it was a $20 or $15. That was already my turn. All right, this time I'm going to go with, let's go with Josh Allen this time. I'll go with I should have tried the Eagles again there and just gone with the Barkley Brown and tried that again, since it failed for me on the last one. I could go Josh Allen. I could go Brown with my next pick here. Just stack Josh Allen with a bunch of Eagles, because I don't want to stack him with the Bills, because the only guy worth stacking him with is James Cook. All right, 2 picks away. Maybe Barkley will fall to me. I got Barkley and Brown that have fallen so far. This guy, he has Jackson Smith and Jigba. So I don't think he's going to want to go with an NFC team. Well, maybe he does. All right, so I'm going to go with A.J. Brown here. So I got Josh Allen and A.J. Brown. And then I'm going to try to think here. We saw the Jags had some decent value as we got further down that draft board. The Texans had some decent value. The Texans could make a run in this just based on their defense. They've won a lot of games recently, so their offense isn't a slouch either. But I just don't trust their offense like I like their defense. So I would tend to lean more towards maybe going Jacksonville if they fell to me, but I don't think that they will. Other teams that I might be interested in drafting, let's get Devontae Smith teed up there. I have that entire passing game for the Eagles potentially. Although I don't want to draft Jalen Hurts because I just drafted Josh Allen pretty early. So I'm going to focus here on, I might just go Josh Allen, honestly, and maybe Khalil Shakir. I think he's really the only competent receiver that they have apart from Dalton Kincaid. And even those guys they just do not have a ton of upside. Drake May would be a really good pick here. We got to remember that with the next draft here, that Drake May, we can get him in the 3rd round. Keep an eye on what players are going in what round when you're doing this. I'm going to go Devontae Smith here. So I got the entire passing game of the Eagles. Let me switch over to the to the view of the draft board for you guys. Sorry about that. So you see I got Josh Allen, I got A.J. Brown, I got Devontae Smith. With sportnuggets.com, we're doing a OG special. It's going to be a discount on the life of the subscription. All the members in Discord just had a ton of success over this past weekend. We were all on Tyler Shuck. That was one of my recommendations in my article I wrote up. I was very much hammering the table on Tyler Shuck, and we all had Tyler Shuck lineups that were climbing up the rankings on Sunday afternoon. He just absolutely went off with Chris Olave for us. And on Saturday, we all had Malik Willis because Malik Willis was the quarterback that I was pounding the table on, and we all had Malik Willis. We were fading Herbert, we were fading Stroud, and we were all on Malik Willis, and he just absolutely went off for us. That was a big day on Saturday as well. And then on the showdown slate, like all those players that were in the winning lineup were on my core, and I was getting everybody on top of that core as well. And just all around, just a big night, big on Luther Burden. Luther Burden ended up being the captain. That made me $30,000 in that in that contest. And like a lot of the members were coming along for that fun ride there. All right, let's see. So now we're looking at. I'm gonna go with. I got Shakir and I got Goddard. So I'm going to go with Shakir here. So you see I got Allen, Brown, Smith, Shakir. I need to get a running back. So I may need to start thinking of another NFC team. I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift. I'm going to go with the Bears here. I like the Bears this season. Let me start getting my queue built up here. Oh God, all the Bears are freaking still on here. Bears are a team that we can definitely stack a lot of in this competition. I would be high on the Bears, honestly, like seeing how late they're going. We're in the 5th round, and I still got like all the Bears here. So that might be a good strategy. If you're like me and you look at that momentum that they have and the the Bears are just playing with enthusiasm. They're playing hard. I like the Bears a lot. I'm going to go with the Bears stack to join my Josh Allen stack as my second NFC team. I'm going to need at some point to draft a running back from either the Eagles or the Bills, maybe in that last round, just so I have a running back if I field a Bills-Eagles team. But hopefully it'd be Bills Bears, even though I'm an Eagles fan. Because all these guys are still on the table. And nobody's picking the Bears. I don't know why. The Bears are the potential number 2 seed. So they're going to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, at least until they get to face the number 1 overall seed. If they face the number 1 seed, if they don't, then they'll be home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And Ben Johnson, he helped get the Lions pretty far last year. I can't remember where they got eliminated. They got eliminated to the Commanders. All right, so I'm going with I like Luther Burden better than DJ Moore, but I'm going to go DJ Moore here because he's higher up on that draft board. Luther Burden and Rome Odunze are in my queue. So we got Josh Allen, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Khalil Shakir. We got DeAndre Swift as my running back. We got DJ Moore. I'll grab Kyle Monangai too as a second running back, just so I have that entire game. Entire team there. If the Bears make it to the Super Bowl, and I'm heavy on the Bears, like they're going this late in the draft, there's not going to be like a primary focus for a lot of people here. So I'm going to go Burden here, 53rd overall pick. And I'm going to try to get Odunze on my next pick here. So I have the complete Bears stack. I just need Kyle Monangai. And Burden's looked awesome. Like as we wrap up the season here. Caleb Williams is still on the board too. So I could field the entire Bears team. I got 3 spots left. And I got 3 Bears left. I got Odunze, I got Monangai, and I got Caleb Williams. So let's see if this falls my way here. I don't think a lot of other people are going to be, targeting these Bears because nobody's targeted them yet. And this is a pretty good team to field for Best Ball Mania on top of it. So I got Josh Allen and the Bears. So Bills Bears would be the Super Bowl that I'm rooting for. Let me go over to the main board. So if you want to try to make sure that you're putting all the Bears in your queue, you type Bears in the search there. I'm going to go Rome Odunze here. And then I'm going to take Swift and Moore. These are all the guys that are on my team or in my queue. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Monangai and Caleb Williams for my last 2 picks. I've got them in my queue. Oops, I want to get Monangai prioritized, and then Swift and Loveland. Loveland's got upside too, but if the team's healthy, if we got Odunze back, then that's going to be less for Loveland there. But we're going to have a whole Bears team here. So I'll take you back to the draft board. You see what I got? I got Josh Allen in the first round, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Khalil Shakir. You know, I should probably draft for my last pick, make sure I'm drafting like a Bills running back just in case it's the Eagles that make it there. So I'm gonna grab Monangai. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna go all in on the Bears. I'm gonna go Loveland instead of Caleb Williams. Actually, no, I take that back. I'm going to stick with Caleb Williams because I think that, it might be tough to get Josh Allen through these playoffs, even if his teams do win, because he's been very low with fantasy points this season. And he's got, there's a lot more difficult defenses that he's facing than Caleb Williams is in the path to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to go with Caleb Williams and just take a risk there that sorry, not Caleb. Yeah, Caleb Williams. I'm going to go Caleb Williams. I do have Odunze, Burden, Moore, Shakir, Smith, and Brown. So I got plenty of upside with my receivers. And I'll be fielding basically an entire Bears team except for Colston Loveland. The Bears are basically scoring 30 points every game lately, so that'll make it very interesting. If this guy just timed out, hopefully he doesn't grab my quarterback. No, he doesn't. All right. So I like this team, and this is the type of drafts that I like to do with playoff best ball. I like to just pick these teams that I think could make it far, right? And I focus on building around these teams. I got my AFC exposure with Allen and Shakir. They're basically the only guys, apart from James Cook and Dalton Kincaid, worth having on the Bills. But I got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and for my Eagles. And then for my Bears, I just got an entire Bears stack. I got Moore, I got Burden, I got Odunze, I got Monangai, and I got Williams. And if the Bears end up facing the Packers again, we just saw what the Packers gave up to the Ravens. The Bears could end up crushing the Packers. That'd get me to that second round at least. And they're a value. Like, I can't believe that they're a value. They're the second overall seed. So, yeah, I mean, it just kind of goes to show, like, there's probably a lot of content talking up some of these scrubbier teams. But I think the Bears have a pretty good chance of getting home field advantage throughout the playoffs. If the Seahawks win the number 1 seed, the Seahawks could easily, choke if they get the Rams in that second round. Division opponents with the Rams, and they could easily just kind of choke in that round. But so that's just a demo of playoff best ball. Very fun game to play. Use the promo code SEEK, SEEK. Underdog's going to give you $100 deposit bonus when you play your first $5. So play a mitten 2. Get used to the format. And get that $100 and just freaking hammer that mitten 2. Just play 20 more lineups. And when you're comfortable with drafting, then go into the gauntlet, start playing in the $25 contest and have fun with that. And make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. Give me the 70 likes, and I'll put my favorite teams to target in the comment section. I'm going to be doing more research on this. I like to map it all out, like I was telling you about, get it with my projections. I see these teams facing off against each other. It's really a crapshoot. You're going to want to have as big a variety of teams in your in exposures as you can. Just like I took the Bears there. I'm going to be taking a lot more Bears after seeing how easy it was to draft them. But, I think that they could be a sleeper in the playoffs, even though I didn't map it out. Let's try to freaking map that out. All right, let's take this. Let's go backwards here. So I had the Bears. Let's put the Bears. I did have the Bears going to the conference championships. Let's go with the Bears. Yeah, fuck. Like the Super Bowl would be pretty easy based on the path that I took. And then the Bills, I had them losing in the first round, but they could easily go the opposite way and make it to the playoffs. Go over to Heatseeker Sports, sportnuggets.com, and subscribe over there. Join our premium Discord. I'm going to be doing write-ups for the 2-game Saturday slate. You're going to want to take advantage of that. Get in that premium subscription. We got an OG subscription. Make sure you're selecting that. Get into the OG subscription, and that's going to be a discount for the life of your subscription. So it's not going to be like a 1-month thing. That's going to be for the life of your subscription. If you cancel your subscription, like the discount goes away. But if you hold on to it, it's going to last as long as you hold on to it. So take advantage of that. Get in the Discord, join the fun. Hopefully we have another big game on a big day on Saturday. And then enjoy the Sunday games as well. We got player incentives to pay attention to on Sunday. I heard some people were poo-pooing the player incentives, which is, go ahead. Like I've had some good success with player incentives in the past. I do like player incentives, and we'll take a look at some of those. Not all player incentives are built the same. You got to look for the players that the coaches would want to get those incentives. The guys who've played hard, have earned it, as opposed to guys who underperformed and they're just trying to fill up their contract there. Those are the guys that are going to be less likely for the coaches to try to get that bonus for. But, the guys also that are on, teams with something to play for, those are less likely to make an effort to get the players their player incentives because they're trying to win the game. But the meaningless games, you target those meaningless games. You target the players that have outperformed. And, those are the guys that the coaches are going to want to treat. So, subscribe to the channel, get me to 2,700 subscribers. Only need about less than 100 to get there. And let's keep this ball rolling.